the Second Battle of Bull Run. And this is a perfect opportunity to talk about strategy and the principles of war. So what I did was I didn't fight the first little introductory battle because I don't like to fight piecemeal. I wait to get my entire army on the field. I put First Corps on the left and Second Corps on the right. Third and Fourth Corps will be reinforcements that come in later. And I do the first phase of the battle, which is the intelligence assessment of the battlefield. And what I see and what the game tells you is to attack these trenches, entrenched, fortified positions supported by artillery, and then charge uphill into a flag. It reeks of enemy kill zone. And I think that if you attack there, you'll lose 15 to 20,000 men and suffer huge casualties that you won't be able to afford and you won't be able to replace. So the first thing I decide is I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to outmaneuver the enemy. The enemy wants me to attack him in a time and place of his choosing, and I'm going to do something else. In fact, I'm going to turn his position into a death trap. I'm going to make his position that he's chosen a place where I can easily destroy his army, taking advantage of the terrain. And so what I have done is I have maneuvered my entire army to the rear of the enemy army, around the left flank, or his right flank, and avoided all contact. Now, let's talk about the Second Bull Run for a second. Malvern Hill was by any measure a defeat, a tactical defeat, but it was a huge strategic victory. It convinced the military and political leadership that they needed to withdraw the Army of the Potomac back to Washington. But Lee didn't just wait then. Even though it was a tactical defeat, it was a strategic victory, just like the Tet Offensive in Vietnam was a tactical disaster for the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong. But it was a huge strategic victory because it achieved political aims. So in this case, Lee seized the initiative. He advanced in Northern Virginia, and he went to Manassas where there was a supply depot. And he needed more supply because the South didn't have any. He seized it, but they wanted more than that. Jackson took a position to lure the North into attacking entrenched, prepared positions that Jackson would have for him. And Longstreet would fall on the enemy's flank then when the enemy was engaged and destroy him. And that is exactly what happened in the battle. So the South had the initiative the entire time. Even when the North was attacking, they were attacking in a time and place and conditions that were all dictated by Jackson. They were doing what the enemy wanted. And seizing the initiative is about not doing what the enemy wants, but figuring out what you're going to do to the enemy. So what I have done is I've gotten around behind the enemy force, and I want to hit him front, flank, and rear. So this is the first part, taking the good terrain away from him. I want to get into this wood line and fire down on the enemy. I want the enemy to have to attack uphill into my position. I don't want... If you took a look at the original position, you were going to have to attack uphill into the enemy. Well, now the enemy is going to have to attack uphill into me. So I have taken the initiative away from him. I have determined how this battle is going to unfold. And I am now fighting on terrain and under conditions that I choose. And what I choose is the enemy charges uphill into my positions of good cover and concealment while the enemy is in the open getting slaughtered. So one of the things you have to do in this battle is don't take the flag. I wish the devs would fix that so the flag didn't just automatically end the battle. But if you take the flag, battle's over. And I've won this battle with taking about 500 casualties. But the battle's over. And if you do that, if you just sweep around the enemy flank, take the flag, battle's over, you don't take any losses, but neither does the enemy. That is not a good thing in the campaign. You need to inflict casualties on the enemy over the course of the campaign to drive down their total manpower pool. So one of the things here is don't trip the flag. So Actually, I have played this where, I get just a little too close to the flag and the flag trips, and then I have to reload and do it again because I'm not going to end the battle because of some game mechanic. This battle needs to end because the fighting ends, and the fighting ends when one side or the other is defeated, not when a flag is taken. Now, I love the game mechanic of having these victory locations and the clocks and all of that. I actually like that. The only thing that's wrong is if my unit that's near that Confederate flag advances just a little bit, this battle's over. That's an artificial mechanic, and I shouldn't have to manipulate an artificial mechanic that has nothing to do with the battle. I wish they would fix that. Now, where that comes from, by the way, is in the original. See, look, he's attacking uphill into my prepared position. So he's going to slow down, he's going to take losses, I'm going to get good cover and concealment. He's going to get just slaughtered. And he can attack all he wants, he's just going to take massive losses. So I hope he, aggressively attacks all day, but it doesn't matter because when Second Corps comes in, they're going to hit him from the other side, and he's going to be hit front, flank, and rear. His position will be impossible. Okay, someone else decides to attack. He's in the open. He's getting hit by artillery and volleys of infantry fire in the open, and he is not going to be able to do that for very long. So what would you call it? It's actually technically my left flank, but now it's kind of First Corps' right flank since we're upside down. He is drawn out in a line not dissimilar from how the North was. The North, when it attacked in a solid line going up this, into these entrenchments and up this hill. And when Longstreet fell on them, he fell on their flank. And he hit them. He didn't just bring his army in and attack. He brought his army in, assembled his divisions, and when he hit them with a hammer blow. And he hit them when they were in the middle of an attack, so they were a straight line. And the entire line was flanked when Longstreet hit them. He hit them at just the right point in time. And no army in the world could maintain that position. They had to fall back and the battle was over. And they took huge losses, and the South got more supplies from the Union Army. So look at this. He attacks, and I'm in the wood line firing downhill. He has to attack uphill. Absolutely hopeless for him. So what I'm doing now is I know Longstreet is coming, and this is the principle of security. You'll notice I have a force on the left side of this line of woods. I am preparing for Longstreet. The Union Army it violated the rules of security. It should have known that half of the Confederate Army was not here when it was attacking. And the question they should have asked is, where is the other half of the Confederate Army? Apparently, it didn't occur to them to go look for it or to keep an eye out for it. And they were surprised when the entire, half of the Confederate Army fell on their flank. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have troops keeping an eye out for Longstreet because he's out there. Now, the game tells you exactly where he is and the direction he's coming from, so it's not a mystery. But I am peeling off units from the main attack. So when I needed everybody in the attack, they were all there, and then as I don't need them, I peel them off to get ready for Longstreet as a blocking force. But this is about economy of force. This is the principle of economy of force. Most of my troops are going to be focused on Jackson until he's totally destroyed. So you see Second Corps is now coming into the battle. And I'm not running. Second Corps is walking very slowly to this part of the battle. Now remember, half of Second Corps is reboard farmers and efficiency of 10, so these guys can't run. I mean, these guys are going to get exhausted in a hurry. And they're slow. They don't have perks and stamina. They don't have any condition, so it's going to take them a while. But that's okay. We're going to patiently wait, inflict casualties on the enemy, like right now the enemy is attacking uphill, and we will just keep chipping away at the enemy numbers and keep distracting them as 2nd Corps gets into position. Yep, and that attack was hopeless. And he took massive well, actually, he just shattered. He took so many losses attacking up the hill, he shattered. Look at this like a box. And I now have two sides of this box. A lid placed on this guy. I got kind of surprised there. I kind of went after a supply wagon. The enemy will use supply wagons to tempt you, to lure you forward. He'll also use skirmishers, but skirmishers don't really tempt us the way it does the AI. But supply wagons do. And I went after the supply wagon, and of course right around it was infantry, which is often the case. So we have kind of a lid on this box, and we have like one side of this box, and 2nd Corps is going to come up, and then Jackson is going to be, well, this box becomes a coffin for him. So as soon as we can get all the other side, where I can't put troops, is a river. And my goal is to slaughter him as he goes across that river, because he will eventually have to retreat across that river. But we're about to have him completely boxed in on all sides when 2nd Corps gets into place. So here comes Longstreet. And the job of this army is just to hold Longstreet in place. That's it. Just to hold him in place. While the mass of my army focuses on destroying Jackson. Then when Jackson is destroyed, units as I can spare them will come over to the other side, and we'll start focusing on Longstreet. Economy of force. Determine what the primary objective is, and everything else is secondary and doesn't get the same support. Now you'll notice kind of to the south, there's a lovely defensive position there with trees. So I'm moving a division from 2nd Corps there so that Longstreet can't come through that direction. It's interesting that when I got everyone behind the Confederate position, I really intended to rest it for 20 minutes and begin my attack with the army fresh, but the enemy actually attacked me and set off the battle. But I would have waited. What I'm doing with these guys near the wood line is I'm keeping them out of sight. And I have a skirmisher to the front so I can see if the enemy moves that direction. But I'm letting them rest. I'm letting them get all their condition back before I commit them to battle. The guys to the north are doing a great job and tying up Longstreet just fine. And 2nd Corps is getting into position. I didn't really push the attack on the flank until 2nd Corps, what is that? I think that says maybe we should flank Jackson. Completely pointless. We've already flanked him, thanks. So, okay, now the trap is complete. Jackson's position is hopeless. He's going to get attacked front, flank, and rear. There's no way out now. I'd like to move troops up, advance the artillery, and then if possible, go ahead and just wait and let my units recover condition. And like I said, I didn't really want to launch the primary attack. When I did, I wanted to wait about 20 in-game minutes and let everybody get 100% condition back. But if you take a look at the army that's on the northern edge of the woods, those guys, they've had plenty of time to recover condition. All they had to do was get across that wooded area to those perfect positions along that wood line, and then you have a couple of hours in game to recover condition. My force in the south has recovered its condition. It's at 100%. And sure enough, the AI has found a path to get to Jackson, and they are advancing into that open area exactly as I was hoping they would do. So that's absolutely terrific. And another enemy unit shatters. There's a unit in a trench or in a fortification, and we're going to hit him on his flank and rear, and he'll collapse very quickly because units can't stand that when they're in fortifications. They just melt. And yeah, all this is just to distract Longstreet. Yep, he melted. He's gone. That's all that's left of Jackson. He's done. And that didn't last very long. I can now start to peel off more units to go face Longstreet because he is such a small force in such a tiny area. All of these units can't participate, and I've been peeling off units. It's hard to maybe notice that, but my artillery can just keep pounding on him, and my infantry can just keep chipping away at him. As long as everybody, and now I have to move out of the woods just to get in a position to deliver volleys on his units. But he is essentially defenseless right now. And really, at this point, I could just set up a defensive line at these river crossings with some artillery, and he would just be out of the battle. Everyone else could go face Longstreet. And really, that would be a very good outcome. You don't have to go after and get every single one, except in this playthrough, I'm trying to get as many as I can. I'm just trying to inflict the maximum number of casualties I possibly can. So, Longstreet attacked in that open area, and I hit him with my 3 units that were waiting in the woods, and his unit got surprised. My goal is to always surprise the enemy by doing something overwhelming to him that causes him damage. So this is about perfect. We're just, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. So my little tiny force that I had here against Longstreet is actually able to advance against him. And I think part of it is the artillery just keeps chipping away. And he keeps walking into this little kill zone I've created for him, and he's advancing 1 unit at a time. Probably not... His units aren't going to be able to stand up to that. Well, there's my skirmisher unit with Burnsides. Hopefully he's doing something productive. When the skirmisher units get 3 perks, they become really good. And there are some late game weapons that are very, very effective. So what I want to do is just get this guy experience with a half-decent weapon so that in the end game I have 1 good skirmisher unit in First Corps. Hopefully with 3 stars. That was my intent. Actually, as I look at this point I was thinking, I don't think I want to go to the other side of this river and go after him. I just want to sit on this side of the river and inflict casualties on him. Crossing the river will be too expensive. I'll lose too many men. So that's what I'm thinking at this point. But it doesn't exactly play out that way. I keep chipping away at him, and he just keeps losing so many casualties. Eventually he becomes very weak, and his position folds, and I can cross the river. But I don't go charging across the river right away. I just stay on this side of the river and keep inflicting casualties on him until he's weakened enough that I can go across the river. So at this point, a lot of troops facing Jackson need to transition over and face Longstreet, because I want to attack Longstreet and inflict casualties on him. See, this is what happens. Just keep firing on him, and volley after volley, and his units start to disintegrate. And what looks like a pretty good-sized army on the other side of the river that I don't want to, I don't want to go into zero cover. But he keeps taking volleys, and his army keeps taking losses. And then pretty soon he's weak enough where there's an opportunity. But I'm not going to rush it and take a bunch of casualties. Boy, and that 24-pound howitzer is just doing good work. So yeah, I'm going to roll up some artillery and let the artillery blast away at him. And that makes all the difference. One unit after another just disintegrates. So over on the other flank, I'm just putting more and more pressure on Longstreet. And at this point, what I'd like to do is, the tactically smart thing to do is wait for my reinforcements to come over from the other flank against Jackson and hit him with a combined force. But about half of Second Corps doesn't have any experience. And for the campaign, I need those guys to fight. So that's one reason why I'm advancing them, is that I think Second Corps can fight. Major General Brigadier something Compass just got wounded. So my avatar just got wounded. He was probably a division commander. I just noticed that. So that's where my avatar went. He got wounded. He ends up the 4th Corps, 4th Division commander. So that's where he's headed. That's his future. Normally I would wait. I would wait for particularly the artillery to move over and hit Longstreet with a complete force. Look at that. The enemy's been driven from the river, and his units have been destroyed one after another, and he just gets weaker and weaker. Anyway, I would hit him with a combined force. However, these guys need to fight. This is an opportunity to get them some experience. And while I will not get, 5-to-1 kill ratio that I'm really looking for, I'm going to take casualties doing this. It is an hour in game time for these guys to get experience. And that's what they need. They need to get that first star. For the North, your units have to get that first star. So that's why I'm advancing here. One is to weaken Longstreet for when the rest of the army gets here, and it'll make the next day easier, if nothing else. But the second thing is, these units need experience. And even if I'm only getting 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 kill ratio with these guys, that is not as significant as the fact that these guys need experience to be effective in future battles. Because right behind these guys, I'm going to bring in more green units. And so every green unit needs to get experience as fast as it can to get that first perk so it can be valuable. So that's what I'm doing. Just exchanging volleys with the enemy to give these green units experience. Yep, And one unit after another is just of Jackson's is going to get hammered. Well, and these green units, you know, not a big surprise. They can't fight very long and they're going to fall back. The only thing I was concerned about there is my artillery was exposed. Yeah, we're not going to finish the battle. We're going to fight as long as we possibly can. So you'll see the big reinforcements from the Jackson front are moving over to the Longstreet front. It'll take a while for them to get there. In the meantime, this little army facing Longstreet will continue to chip away at Longstreet. Now, Jackson's entire, you know, what's left of his force just is collapsed, and we'll be able to round him up pretty easily and take every one of them out. So yeah, at this point, with green troops, it's a good idea to have a double line. That is a front line of troops, and then when your units on the front line become exhausted or rout, have units behind them that can move forward and take their place, and that's what I'm doing here. You'll see the guy kind of in the rear. His job is to replace the units as they become exhausted, lose condition, or just retreat. Yeah, the whole point of that, by the way, is to protect the artillery. I don't want say, the entire left of that attack to collapse and then the artillery is exposed. So I always, always, always protect my artillery. Go get him, General Grant. Good job. Yep, I just can't pass up the opportunity to chase after supply wagons. Now, I have 4 supply wagons myself. I have 4 supply wagons. So, yeah, he did collapse my entire left of that line. Don't know why I'm surprised. Green troops cannot hold up. Until a unit gets that perk, they're just not very strong. But reinforcements are coming in. I'm really glad I put skirmishers out, detached skirmishers out, to watch my, you know, the flanks and keep an eye on open areas. That's a really good habit to get into. So he has a unit that he was trying to sneak around into my rear area, and I'm going to catch him in the middle of crossing a river, and he's going to take a hit. Meanwhile, my cav is going to round up some supply wagons. So I don't know how many that makes. I'll probably end up with 8 supply wagons before this is over. 4 of my own and 4 of his. I'm going to get 3 right here. Security, security, security. Keep an eye on your flanks with either cav on the flank or detached skirmishers. Yeah, that guy in the river, that's a really bad position. Notice how calculated this is. Just keep extending the enemy's flank. The guy in the river is dead. Now I have 3 units that can encircle what's left of Longstreet, and 2 more units coming in to help extend the flank. We should be able to completely encircle this rebel force. And all I need to do really is just roll up artillery and just get free artillery shots on these guys. And another supply wagon. So I wasn't able to completely surround him. I hate that when the enemy retreats into your unit. That is... Man, I wish the devs would fix that. I just wish the devs would fix it. That is just nonsense. Yeah, he surrendered, but really, if a retreating unit touches your unit, they should instantly surrender. Problem solved. It's ridiculous. Units should not retreat through your lines, and they should not retreat into your units. It's just, it is the single most broken thing in the game. It always has been, all the way back to the original Gettysburg. The very first game, I played it, and units would attack your units and then retreat through your lines into your rear area and attack your artillery while they were routing. I mean, it was just nonsense. And, well, that's why I stopped playing it, because it was just broken. Okay, so now we proceed to the next day. Yep, we have a substantial advantage. I think Longstreet gets significantly reinforced. You always, always, always go to camp and replace units, and I always, always, always have officers on the bench to replace any killed or wounded officers. Maintaining your officer corps is the most important thing because you lose so much. I only top off my artillery. I like to have about 100 men or 200 in reserve. I never use all of them, but their purpose is just to top off artillery. An even number. So if I lose a gun or two, that's not a big deal. I will not buy the guns back. I will not replace lost guns. But if they're like 5 men short of being able to fully man the guns they have, that's what I'm looking for. All the other units, if they're under strength, they can just merge with another unit. I don't like to replace men during the battle. So the whole point of this was to get here the second day, so Longstreet would bring in, hopefully, more troops to get reinforced, so I could kill the largest number of enemy troops possible. So I'm going to put this on really fast. This is actually 4 times speed. And we're going to sweep the battlefield, looking for, first of all, find the enemy, and secondly, then concentrate all our power and destroy him. Oh, another supply wagon. Splendid. So we'll forward fast a little bit. We'll skip over some stuff with the power of editing. Basically, I'm looking everywhere for the enemy to find out where he is, so I can then figure out how I'm going to go after him. And there was nothing on the right side, so these guys have to sweep around. Again, missing the stupid flag so that the battle doesn't end. And yeah, oh, look, some more supply wagons. And we kind of find him. Not a big surprise where he is. And now our whole army can concentrate on him, and eventually the battle ends here. The enormous army just grinds him down and takes him out. Probably didn't get the same kill ratio as in other battles. And the last thing I do is take the stupid flag. Okay, 1.4, 1 to 4, almost 5, 5 to 1, 5 to 1. But the important thing is 43,000 casualties. That is huge. We're really going to put a dent in the manpower pool. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and I hope you never attack trench lines. Thanks for watching.